Hi everybody, thanks for joining me for my bits and bobs progress video this week, number 42. I was stitching away. It's a beautiful day outside, so and it's very hot in the house because I had the wood stove going earlier, and it's 17 Celsius outside, so I've got the window open to cool it down, get some fresh air, and I was stitching away, and then I thought, oh shoot, I should film a little bit before I get too far so then you can see the progress. There's no point in putting it in front of you. But anyway, so here I am. I finished the fan. I did nothing about this thus far because as I was holding it, like hanging it, it seemed to fix it. So I think maybe it's just because it's the way it's sitting near the fold. I have my quilt folded sort of back and forth where the bottom, so the top is all folded under, but so that I'm have like a table to stitch against and I don't go to the back layers. I've shown this before. I have this piece of acrylic, so I have it tucked under, and that sits on my pillows, which sits on my lap, and that as a table, a soft table. Did that make any sense? I have this pillow. Past videos I showed that I have this pillow that I put on my lap when I do hand stitching, and it helps me as a sort of table, and it's, you know, melds into my knees and legs, and then also it has a place I can put pins in if needed. So it also elevates my work so closer to my face, because I like to stitch without glasses, and that means it has to be closer to my face these days. Anyways, so this piece of acrylic makes a barrier between the layer I'm stitching on and the other parts of the quilt. And that way the whole quilt doesn't have to lie over my lap, because this is a very cat hairy place and I try and keep as much of the cat hair off my quilt as possible. It's not, but as much as possible. So this helps me do that. All right, I went way off where I didn't mean to go. I did finish the fan, and for now I'm not going to do anything about this. If it still bugs me later, what I've decided I'm probably going to do, and don't scream, I think it's worth every moment. If I really hate it later, I'm going to take the stitching out from here to here, tie it off, and then stretch it a little more and then re-stitch. It won't take me very long to do that, but I don't think, like I said, I don't think I'm going to need it. You can see if I take away the fold, it takes away the wrinkle. So anyways, it's not that much of a big deal. What else? Oh yes, so I'm starting this block today, which I called Wrinkled Bias Eyelet. It doesn't really have a proper name. I love this fabric. It was my colors, pinks and the blues, and I just really wanted to have a feature piece. And so and this was before I decided about my border. I had that double eyelet that I showed last week. Here it is. So I put a piece of it across, and then I had this wrinkly bias that I harvested off. I can't remember what, but it was so interesting wrinkly, and I could have stretched it out and pressed it, but it was much more interesting as the wrinkles. So it just was such the right colors, and then I added the same pink stem stitch across. I think that just made a really interesting block with those fun little elements. That's the part I like about creating with bits and bobs. It's, you never know what you're gonna do. So yes, so I'm appliquing this block down this week. When I'm done that, I'm going to tack stitch along the edges of the eyelet, and I'm not sure it needs it, but you never know. I might redo or overdo the overstitch the stem stitch like I did with the other embroideries. Yeah. This I folded back so I could start stitching here, and now I got a crease in it. One of the nice things about getting these onto the layers of background is then they don't really get creases anymore. I'm gonna have to pull this one off and give it a press again. I think I don't want that crease there. If I have any extra time this week, I'm going to stitch down the edge of this collar, this lace collar, because it's under the next few pieces. And oh yeah, and I was looking over before I started filming, I noticed this star that I made a couple weeks ago in the tray. I haven't really found a place that I haven't hung up the quilt to play with that idea yet. I don't know where to put it. But just now I was like, oh, that might look really cute right there. It kind of nicely ties. I don't know. I'm not going to decide right yet, but that might be an option right there. Who knows? The boot's coming next, I think. Or actually, technically, it should be this one. Okay. All right. I'm going to go stitch. Enjoy my afternoon with the open window. And I'll be back for you in just several seconds with my progress. Before I continue, I wanted to show you before and after so you see what difference stitching actually does make. I've appliqued this whole block down, and on this side I've not tacked down the eyelet yet, and you can see what that looks like. But on this side I have tacked down the outer edge of the eyelet plus in the circle of the middle of the eyelet of each petal. I don't even know what that would be called. We'll call it a petal. Or scallop, in each scallop there. I like that better. So you can see the difference. It just merges everything so much nicer. All right, I'm going to continue progress and I'll be back for that. Actually, I'm back faster than I said. Something I meant to say in the earlier clip. For those who are new and not have followed along all along, the reason you're seeing these white threads throughout when I work is those are my basting threads, and I love to baste the edges under, so when I actually do the applique I don't have to think about where the seam allowance needs to be turned. I've already taken care of that by basting it, and then basting the piece to the background. I think in some parts it's called tacking, though my tacking stitch is just a small stitch a couple of times in a spot. That's how I have always been taught tacking stitches were, but I know other parts of the world sewing terms are different. So in here it's called a basting stitch here in Canada. And yeah, so I do basting stitches a lot. I love to work with basting stitches rather than pins. I don't like pins at all. So that's why you see the white threads. And then when you're done, you get to take the basting stitches out. And I don't know if you remember, this one was quite basted up. And now it's nice and clean. It's always fun and feels like I've accomplished something when I'm taking out the basting. All right, now I will be back with more progress. Quick other before and after. I finished tacking all the eyelet down, and I've done one side of over stitching the embroidery with a stem stitch on this side, and it's pulled in. From this angle you can't fully see it, but this one is definitely puffed up. So once I get it stitched down, it's gonna pull it all towards the quilt. Can you see the difference there? I don't know. Thought I'd be able to show it better than it's showing. Oh, there, maybe you can see it, how it's up because it's not stitched down. And I should also say, as an amendment to what I was saying about basting, I do love basting. I only use white. I have a big spool of white cotton thread that I use, and because I have found that if I use colored thread, they can leave colored fibers in my pieces when I pull it out, and somehow white doesn't. I never notice the white afterwards. And it's not a waste of thread, because what I also do is save. I mean, mostly when you pull out the thread, it's still usable to baste another day. So that's what I do. I use it to baste at least a couple of times before it starts getting raggedy itself. So just, yeah, a couple of additional thoughts about basting. All right, back with the finished progress. I'm finished the block. It's all completely stitched now. All the basting stitches are out, except for this one, which is across the piece one, so I'm just going to leave it for now. Yeah, I'm pleased with how that turned out. I also stitched this little piece. I set that up using this trim, and originally I thought, oh, I'll just put it there as a test, but then I'll move it. But then it kind of was a little delicate and would have been harder to move than to just leave it where it was. So I decided to stitch where it is, and if I feel like adding things beside it, I can always do that. Okay, that's it for this week, except at the very end, I had a porcupine visitor yesterday afternoon. So I took a bit of video to share with you, so I'll pop it on the very end of this video in case you're interested in seeing how cute porcupines are. They're not dangerous at all. They're just gentle, sweet creatures that have spines, quills. They have quills to protect themselves from things that want to eat them. Anyways, I had a visitor during the daytime. It doesn't happen here very often, though I do get a fair amount of porcupines around, because I don't mind them, except when they go to eat my garden, which this one was going to try and eat my sweet williams, and I asked him not to. Now, in the video that I have for you, that doesn't happen. However, if you want to see me ask him nicely to not eat my sweet williams, look for a short, and I did a short video as well, and he went to go do that then. Anyways, that's enough of that. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you got inspired, and if you're interested in more progress, I will attempt to put out another video next week. Thanks for watching, and happy stitching.